Have you ever found yourself caught in a recurring relationship pattern, wondering why certain dynamics persist or why you are consistently drawn to particular individuals? The answers to these profound questions often reside not in conscious choice alone, but in the intricate, often hidden landscapes of our minds. The complexities of human connection, especially in romantic relationships, are deeply influenced by psychological forces that operate beneath the surface of our everyday awareness. Today we're diving deep into the profound insights offered by two monumental figures in the field of psychology, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. While their theoretical frameworks diverge significantly, both offer powerful lenses through which to understand the intricate dance of attraction, the roots of conflict, and the universal human quest for deeper, more meaningful connection. Throughout this discussion, the aim is to illuminate how Freud's foundational, albeit controversial, ideas about early childhood development leave an indelible mark on adult love. Subsequently, the focus will shift to Jung's revolutionary concept of universal archetypes, including the powerful anima and animus, and how these collective patterns shape perceptions and interactions within romantic partnerships. By the end of this video, you'll have a fresh perspective on yourself and the women in your life, opening doors to more conscious and fulfilling connections. The unconscious blueprint, Freud's foundational ideas. Sigmund Freud, widely acknowledged as the father of psychoanalysis, fundamentally reshaped the understanding of the human mind by introducing the radical concept of the unconscious. He believed that most of our thoughts, feelings, and desires live deep down in our minds, hidden from our everyday awareness, kind of like the huge, unseen part of an iceberg underwater, with only a tiny bit showing above the surface. This profound notion suggests that many of the forces driving human behavior, including those within relationships, are not immediately accessible to introspection. Freud also broke down our personality into three main parts: the id, which is like your inner toddler, always wanting what it wants right now and seeking pure pleasure, no matter what. Then there's the ego, which is your logical, grown-up self, trying to balance what your id wants with what's actually possible in the real world. And finally, the superego is like your inner parent, holding all your morals and ideals, telling you what's right and wrong. These intricate internal dynamics profoundly shape an individual's desires, fears, and behavioral patterns within relationships. Freud's big idea was that these hidden parts of our mind, especially the pleasure-seeking id, secretly guide our deepest desires, even when it comes to who we're attracted to. He also believed that our core personality is pretty much set by the time we're 5 years old. This means that the way we act in relationships as adults, who we like, how we handle arguments, isn't just about conscious choices. It's often a replay of old patterns from our childhood. So, if you keep running into the same relationship problems, it might not just be bad luck. It could be your unconscious mind trying to work through something from way back when. That iceberg idea isn't just a cool metaphor. It helps explain why we sometimes feel stuck or repeat patterns. The real reasons are often hidden deep below the surface. Freud laid out 5 key stages of development, each tied to a different part of the body that becomes a main source of pleasure and learning during that time. Oral stage, birth to 1 year. Focus is on the mouth, sucking, biting. Think about how babies explore the world with their mouths. Anal stage, 1 to 3 years. Focus is on EO, bowel and bladder control, potty training. This stage is about learning control and independence. Phallic stage, 3 to 6 years. Focus shifts to the genitals, and children become aware of gender differences. This is where Freud introduced controversial ideas like the Oedipus complex, a boy's unconscious desire for his mother and rivalry with his father. Latent period, 6 years to puberty. Sexual impulses are dormant. Children focus on social skills, school, and hobbies. Genital stage, puberty to death. Sexual interests mature, and individuals develop the capacity for healthy adult relationships. Freud believed that successfully moving through these stages is super important for growing into a healthy adult. But if you get stuck in a stage because a conflict wasn't resolved, He called that a fixation. These fixations can show up as certain personality traits and, you guessed it, cause problems in your adult relationships. For example, if someone got stuck in the oral stage, think babies and mouths, they might become overly dependent or engage in a lot of oral habits as an adult. Or if they got stuck in the anal stage, think potty training, they might become obsessed with control or super rigid. The last stage, the genital stage, starts around puberty and is all about developing mature sexual interests and the ability to have truly fulfilling give-and-take relationships. Freud's idea that getting stuck can lead to immaturity and an inability to form fulfilling relationships as an adult is a big deal. These aren't just small quirks. They're often unconscious ways we learn to cope with unmet needs or tough experiences as kids. Imagine a child whose need for independence was squashed during the anal stage. They might grow up to be what Freud called anal retentive. In relationships, this could look like someone who has to be in control, can't compromise, or is obsessed with neatness. This isn't a choice, it's an unconscious defense mechanism, and it can really mess with true intimacy. So, if you're facing ongoing relationship struggles, it might be worth looking back at those early years and the unresolved issues from your past. Here is a table summarizing Freud's psychosexual stages and their potential impact on adult relationships. Freud's controversial lens on women, historical context, and critiques. Freud's perspectives on women were undeniably shaped by the prevailing patriarchal culture of his era. He famously called women a dark continent and admitted he struggled with the big question, what does woman want? His ideas often came from a very male-focused viewpoint, which has, understandably, faced a lot of criticism since. He argued that women were restricted by their biology and that their sexual development was cut short because they realized they didn't have a penis, a concept he controversially called penis envy. According to Freud, this led to a lifelong unconscious search for a substitute for the penis, often through relationships with men or by having children. He even suggested that tough experiences during the phallic stage could hinder normal female development, potentially leading to a diminished superego or moral capacity in women. Freud's own personal life and relationship with his wife, Martha, offer a glimpse into the biases that may have influenced his theoretical constructs. He reportedly demanded absolute loyalty and devotion from Martha during their engagement, viewing it as his job to command and her to obey. Martha's apparent lack of interest in his groundbreaking work and her primary role as a hausfrau or housewife further underscore the societal expectations placed upon women during that period. While Freud's theories were groundbreaking for his time, they were definitely shaped by his own biases and the society he lived in during the late 1800s and early 1900s Vienna. His idea of penis envy isn't just a theory. It shows a male-focused view of how women develop psychologically. Other thinkers, like Karen Horney, even argued that society's roles and expectations played a much bigger part than biology. This is a crucial point. Psychological theories aren't set in stone. They're shaped by the people who create them and the world they live in. So, while Freud's focus on early experiences is still super important, we need to look at his specific ideas about women with a modern, less biased eye. It means understanding who the theorist was is just as important as understanding what they theorized. Initial insight: the enduring impact of early life. Despite the controversies and historical limitations, Freud's work powerfully emphasizes the profound and often unconscious impact of early life experiences on our adult relational patterns. It compels individuals to look inward and backward into their developmental history to truly comprehend current relationship dynamics. 3. Jung's archetypes. The universal language of connection beyond the personal. The collective unconscious. Carl Jung, who actually started out working closely with Freud, eventually went his own way and introduced a game-changing idea: the collective unconscious. Unlike Freud's personal unconscious, which is all about your own hidden memories, Jung's collective unconscious is like a giant, shared library of experiences, images, and knowledge that every human being inherits. Inside this universal mind live archetypes. These are like fundamental universal patterns or blueprints for characters and situations that show up in myths, stories, and dreams across all cultures. They're not learned, they're innate, influencing how we see the world and interact with others in ways that go beyond our personal experiences. If archetypes are truly universal symbols and themes, present in the collective unconscious of all humans, and play an essential role in shaping human behavior, thoughts, and emotions, then they deeply influence how we form and navigate relationships. This means some relationship patterns or attractions aren't just random. They're driven by these universal, inherited scripts. When you interact with someone, you're not just interacting with them as an individual, but also with the archetypal patterns they embody, consciously or unconsciously. This helps explain why certain types of people are always drawn to each other, or why dynamics like the gold digger and sugar daddy, or priest and nun, seem to pop up again and again across different cultures and times. Feminine archetypes in relationships. Understanding women's inner worlds. Jungian psychology points to many different feminine archetypes, each showing a unique side of the female mind. Understanding these can give you amazing insights into the many ways women express their femininity in relationships. Think of these archetypes not as strict labels, but as fluid energies that can show up in different ways, each with its good points and a shadow or less desirable side. And remember, a woman might show different archetypes or parts of them depending on the situation. Examples of key feminine archetypes include the innocent. This archetype is youthful, optimistic, and authentic. She approaches life with wonder and isn't jaded by hardships. She's comfortable being herself. However, her shadow side can make her overly obedient or a people pleaser. In relationships, she might represent a fresh start, but could struggle with setting boundaries. The caregiver. This archetype is all about nurturing, support, and creating. It can mean being a mother, but also nurturing a new business or creative project. In relationships, she's the one who tends to loved ones and creates a comfortable home, but she might forget to take care of her own needs. The beloved, or lover. Creative, playful, and confident, the beloved is deeply connected to her sensuality and emotions. She wants deep intimacy and connection, radiating passion and attracting abundance. In relationships, she's alluring and passionate, seeking profound connection, but might be too focused on getting external validation. The scholar, or sage. A source of wisdom and knowledge, the scholar is peaceful, sincere, and intuitive. She's secure in her identity and shares her insights freely, having learned from her past mistakes. In relationships, she values intellectual connection, truth, and personal growth, though she might sometimes seem detached or overly analytical. The explorer. This archetype is a vibrant soul who lives life on her own terms. She's courageous, competitive, and self-assured, relying on herself and not needing a partner to feel complete. She's often a natural activist. In relationships, she thrives on adventure and independence, but her shadow side can involve avoiding vulnerability or pushing others away. The fact that there are so many feminine archetypes means women aren't just one type of person. Plus, the idea of shadow sides tells us that every archetypal expression has its own potential downsides. For relationships, this means that knowing which archetypes a woman mainly embodies, and maybe which ones she's hiding, can reveal her deepest desires, fears, and potential conflict points. For men, recognizing these archetypes in a partner helps you appreciate her complexity beyond just the surface. This also suggests that a healthy relationship isn't just about seeing these archetypes in your partner, but also helping them integrate their shadow aspects and express a full range of these energies in a balanced way. The example of a woman being decisive and opinionated at work, but submissive and passive at home perfectly, shows how archetypes can change with the situation, highlighting the need to be flexible in understanding your partner. Here is a table outlining some of Jung's key feminine archetypes and their potential manifestations in relationships. The anima and animus, your inner opposite. One of Jung's most important ideas for relationships is the anima, the hidden, feminine side in a man's mind, and the animus, the hidden masculine side in a woman's mind. Think of these as your inner opposite-sex self, representing your true, authentic self, not just the mask you show to the world. Jung believed these inner figures are shaped by your relationships with your parents, family life, and even cultural influences. For men, the anima is connected to eros, Greek for love, bringing out creativity, the ability to form healthy relationships, and a sense of completeness, adding empathy and sensitivity to a man's mind. For women, the animus is linked to logos, Greek for reason, fostering logic, power, and action, giving a woman assertiveness and a drive to achieve. When your anima or animus is well developed and integrated, it brings out positive traits like empathy and sensitivity in men and assertiveness and drive in women. But if you push these inner parts down, it can lead to psychological imbalances. For men, a hidden anima might show up as moodiness, possessiveness, or even emotional outbursts. For women, a suppressed animus could lead to aggression, ruthlessness, or always wanting to argue. A key part of Jung's theory is projection in relationships. Jung believed we often project our anima or animus onto our romantic partners. This projection can create intense feelings, like love at first sight, or that powerful feeling that someone completes you. Basically, a man often falls for a woman who seems to embody his unconscious anima, while a woman picks a partner who carries her animus projection. Jung noted that projecting your animus onto someone can create feelings of deep connection, even leading to love at first sight. It's a powerful initial pull. But here's the crucial warning. Projection of the anima or animus onto the partner is dangerous because one then tries to force the partner to act in a certain way which has nothing to do with his or her real personality. This means the very thing that creates that intense initial attraction can also become the root of huge relationship problems and disappointment. It suggests that the first spark in a relationship might be less about who your partner actually is and more about an unconscious, idealized image in your own mind. The real challenge is moving past this initial projection to truly see and love the real person, which often means integrating your own inner opposite instead of constantly looking for it outside yourself. When archetypes collide, anima, animus, possession. Jung also talked about something he called possession, which happens when your anima or animus completely takes over your conscious personality, making you fully identify with that inner opposite. This state can feel incredibly compelling, even seductive, creating intensity, passion, and larger-than-life feelings that are super exciting at first. But animus possession is dangerous and destructive when they seize a couple in a relationship. It makes partners unconsciously try to force each other to be their projected ideal, turning the relationship into something increasingly volatile and explosively conflictual. Think of Jack and Betty. Jack's anima, his inner feminine, representing connection, was totally projected onto Betty. At the same time, Betty's animus, her inner masculine, was captivated by Jack's seemingly strong, dependable facade. This was bound to cause problems when the sobering realities of their human limitations eventually broke those idealized images. Many relationships start with that love at first sight feeling, often because of anima or animus projection. When this projection turns into possession, the relationship can become a battleground where each person unconsciously tries to force the other into an idealized, often unrealistic role. When the sobering realities of their human limitations inevitably hit, those projections shatter, leading to disappointment, conflict, and resentment. The solution, as seen with Jack and Betty, often involves painstaking shadow work in therapy to reclaim their projections. This common pattern, initial attraction from projection, then possession and unrealistic expectations, leading to shattered ideals and conflict, and finally needing inner work for healing, shows how powerful unconscious dynamics are in relationships. It highlights that real relationship maturity and resolving conflict often come from working on yourself internally rather than trying to change your partner. Initial insight: integrating the inner self. Jung's archetypes, particularly the anima and animus, provide a powerful framework for understanding the universal patterns of attraction and conflict in relationships. They emphasize that true connection and relational harmony require not just understanding the other person, but critically integrating one's own inner self and moving beyond the often unconscious projections that can distort perception and foster unrealistic expectations. V. Integrating insights. Building conscious relationships, synthesizing Freud and Jung. Even though Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung had different ideas and eventually went their separate ways, their insights actually complement each other when it comes to understanding relationships, especially with women. Freud's work shows us how your unique personal history and any unresolved childhood issues deeply shape your individual relationship patterns and unconscious desires. His focus on early experiences helps us understand the ingrained behaviors and emotional reactions that pop up in adult love. Jung, meanwhile, reveals the universal, archetypal forces that influence attraction, connection, and conflict, often through unconscious projection. His ideas about the collective unconscious and archetypes suggest that some relationship dynamics aren't just random. They're part of a shared human experience, echoing ancient patterns. By putting these two perspectives together, you get a more complete picture, seeing both the individual marks from your past and the universal psychological blueprints that shape your relationships. Practical takeaways. Understanding these deep psychological theories isn't just for academics. It gives you real, practical tools for building more conscious and fulfilling relationships. Boost your self-awareness. Knowing about Freud and Jung helps you spot your own unconscious drives and archetypal patterns that are playing out in your relationships. Ask yourself, am I unknowingly repeating childhood patterns? Am I seeing an idealized version of my partner instead of who they really are? This kind of self-reflection is the first step to breaking old cycles. Develop deeper empathy. When you understand the deep psychological influences on women, from their early development, Freud, to the archetypes they embody, Jung, you can approach relationships with more empathy and a richer understanding. This means moving past quick judgments and truly appreciating the complex inner world of another person. Empower yourself with choice. Both Freud and Jung talked about powerful unconscious forces that might seem to control our behavior. But understanding these forces isn't about giving up control, it's about gaining it. By becoming aware of those fixations from childhood or the animus projections that drive your actions, you can start the painstaking shadow work or conscious integration needed for personal growth. The goal isn't to be defined by these theories, but to use them as powerful tools for self-awareness and making conscious choices. Once you understand these hidden forces, you gain the power to react differently, break old, unhelpful patterns, and build healthier, more authentic connections. It shifts the question from, what's wrong with me or them, to, how can I understand and integrate these internal forces to create better relationships? V. Conclusion. Your journey to deeper connection. This exploration has journeyed through the intricate depths of the human psyche, from Freud's groundbreaking insights into childhood's lasting echoes on adult relationships to Jung's revolutionary universal archetypes and the powerful dynamics of the anima and animus. Understanding these psychological frameworks provides an unparalleled advantage in navigating the inherent complexities of relationships, particularly those with women. This discussion serves as merely the beginning of a profound journey towards deeper self-awareness and more fulfilling connections. The more one commits to exploring these hidden dimensions of the mind, the more conscious, intentional, and ultimately rewarding relationships can become. If this deep dive into the human psyche and its impact on relationships resonated with you and provided valuable insights, please consider supporting this channel, liking this video, subscribing for future explorations into psychology and human dynamics, and sharing your thoughts and experiences in the comments below are greatly appreciated. Your engagement helps this channel grow and continue creating valuable content for its audience.